He's got a whole new title now.
Is that phenomenal?
He's the doorman.
Me, I don't know.
Thank you, Dean. Welcome everybody. We are we are glad that you're here, and we are glad that the cold air has gone for the moment. Maybe it'll come back next week, but it's supposed to. So thank you all for being here. We do have a program that's being energized at the moment. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, but we will, as usual, we'll start with show and tell. Anything anybody has brought that they need to share with us. I know Jim's got some things over here, and I think others have. So, okay, Cindy, go ahead.
Well, I already showed people at Rasher, so they've already seen it, but there's one little piece in. First of all, we have a dog dressed like Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
So, yeah, I get a dog of the day calendar. There he is. I'll be glad to pass that around. I love dogs.
Try not to grease it up, everybody.
Yeah, and then this is an author who comes to Malice, and she wrote a kid's book called Sherlock Holmes. And it's pretty cute. And an octopus as Holmes, why not?
Yeah,
Right.
I quick read, so you.
Yeah, very fast read.
We may need to share that title with Shannon for her class.
Yeah.
So great, thank
Yeah.
you. Drew, you have something? You got that look on your face.
I do, yeah. This is from Tom Vick from Musgrave. And it is a collection of short detective stories that were collected in England before Poe. Like these are the 1820s.
Oh my.
And the first detective story historically is Poe's Murders in the Rue Morgue, 1841. So this is like 1827.
No, this is a myth buster. This is a history buster.
Absolutely.
I mean, so there were detective things before Poe showed up.
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe pass this
I
around.
might want to note that they were supposedly true, but they were apparently most likely made up. So, yeah.
Oh, they were like.
It was not supposed to Poe didn't invent that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
At least
the document before him too.
yeah. That was Poe's position anyway. I had to say that. Because he said it first.
Poe's position pretty much horizontal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, thank you. And Tom, thank you for having that in your library.
Absolutely.
Jim, you have risen from your chair to move over to a display on the wall, it looks like.
Okay. Can everybody see? Past Drew? Oh, there, can you see?
Yep.
Okay, so when David said he's gonna speak about the Musgrave ritual and his connection to it, it reminded me that the Baker Street irregular dinner in New York, the menu every year is done by French CHO Cho. It's a Korean illustrator and artist. And so I have 4 of his. I was there in 22 for my investiture, 23, 24, and I didn't go in 25, but somebody brought me one. But anyway, on the back of each of these is the Musgrave ritual. So we can pass these around. Do they need to refer to this during the meeting? Would it be good?
I'm sorry,
Do they need to have the Musgrave ritual?
they only need to listen well.
Okay.
I knew that was a cat.
Sorry.
Yeah, hey.
So here is the January 24 dinner with this menu deal, and then the back is it's always there. Whose was it?
The Musgrave ritual again.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll just pass these around. I hope they don't disappear. Nobody gets to leave until I find. Here is the 23. Does anybody know who this might be?
It's Mycroft, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Mycroft. There you go.
It might be me after a big lunch. I'm just saying.
And it's not Billy Fields, okay? But here's a little necking going on in that.
Wow, it has everything.
You got it there, it's all there. And then one more, I'm not sure what this refers to, but It's, once again, here's Mrs. Hudson, isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
Very good.
He's always there and he signs always for everybody. I just hate to miss it. I'm gonna go back again next year. I have, these are all giveaways now, not these, okay?
Not those.
But here's a Hound of the Baskervilles. The whole story, which is this interesting little tidbits, you know, it's a hardback. I'm keeping the softback. But take a look at that, if anybody wants it, you can see it later. Here you go.
A lot of annotation in that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a well done. I came across this in the attic this morning, a history about the Victorians. And Queen Victoria on the back. It's pretty nice, but I just need to get rid of some stuff. So I'll pass this around. If you want it. And then I brought my Jack Daniels Sinatra Select. Oops, yeah.
It's broken, man.
Here's my Jack Daniels Sinatra Select decanter case that I got in at the distillery last time. And I had finished that, so I put my little what do you call these things? Tall, skinny well,
Decanter.
I can't see what
I
it
did-
is.
oh, the animal.
Nutcracker? Oh, no.
Oh, Musgrave. Is it?
Oh, I can't see it.
Yeah, it's some animal with
Yeah.
the Sherlock outfit on, yeah.
So then I put this in here and go take a look, that's pretty cute.
Okay, yeah.
He's in my collection of Sherlock Holmes.
Animal, where,
Human.
where something.
Yeah, well, and all what, there's a name for that,
I know it,
where they take animals.
Anthropomorphize, yes.
Yes.
See, I knew you'd know it, Dean. You're a genius.
So where?
Why
we keep him around?
I'm also giving this away, this is Adventures of Sherlock Holmes Red-Headed League, illustrated by James Macaluso, and it's all Lego people in here.
Oh, my goodness.
It's huge.
The Lego pieces.
I'm gonna let it go.
You gotta pull our Lego on that.
There you go, there you go. And then I have 8. And factor doubles. You're welcome to any of these. These are the comic books. Some of you already have these.
Those are reprinting the newspaper strip from the early 50s.
Nah, they're wonderful, but I just don't have room for them. Frank Giacomo.
Yeah.
And Edith Meiser, you know, and Edith Meiser figures pretty big. All her materials is up where John Bennett Shaw stuff is in Minneapolis. She turned it over there. When she did that, John interviewed her. There's a really wonderful tape with all that on there. Anyway, that's my show and tell, so
Very nice.
come in and see it all.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Other show and tell. Well, we can do a tale. I can do a tale. Jim brought it to my attention, and my old neighbors in East Nashville brought it to my attention again. The Nashville Ballet. In early May, I think it's May 1st through the 3rd,
Yeah, I think so.
is doing a ballet.
It
And you already
actually
got
looks-
some information.
Yeah, well, I sent a whole email about it and with lots of photographs of.
Did I get it?
people. I don't know. I assume they sent it to all the Sherlockians, but maybe not.
I did.
And it has nice photos of the actual ballet dancers and it's gonna be done very modern. It's not gonna be like toe dancing, but
Yeah, right.
it's gonna be more like modern.
Okay.
West Side Story or something.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it were inspired by the dancing men.
They didn't mention who the inspiration was, so.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to show you aren't paying attention.
I understand. Well, there are, I don't have it off the top of my head. We'll get you more information. There is, maybe 4 performances,
Something
maybe 2
like that.
matinees. Again, my neighbor's kind of funny. I just got a text saying we're going to a show. We're going to probably do Sunday,
Whatever,
May
yeah.
3rd at 2 o'clock, you're going. I said, okay, so,
Well, the costumes look beautiful. That's all I could tell from the photos, and their positioning made me think that it was more a modern dance.
well, I wanna, Jim, I'm gonna task you with something because I know you're very close friends. You may wanna let Mr. Blau know this is going on, send him a paragraph, because y'all are close,
Oh, yeah, we are, thanks.
as opposed to me who not close.
Well, you quit going to New York.
He didn't like me, and that's the reason I didn't go back.
It wasn't
I'm
that
just
like
kidding. He loves me. Sandy, don't tell him.
you would
Peter
be-
Blau loves me. I'm one of his favorites.
You would be in a room and he would walk by and you say, hello, Peter, and he'd just keep walking.
He would. He really would. I said, hello, how are you doing today? He's just, and that's okay.
And
That's
he was
okay.
going to talk to somebody else.
He was focused. He was focused. And Jim keeps apologizing for him. It's okay. Thank goodness for Peter Blau, is one of the great people ever for keeping the memory alive. So I will say that about the guy. Anyway, we'll get some information out about the ballet. I know Peter really would like to put that. There may be some folks who want to come in and see it. So we may get some national pub on that. Other show and tell. Anything new that people need to know? Folks, online, is there anything that y'all have? Sandy, Janice, Micah, anybody? Show and tell, or any just news we need to know?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, Micah.
Oh, hello. Yes. Is that Jeff speaking?
No, this is Billy Fields.
Oh, hey, Billy. Thanks for long time listener, first time caller. Thanks for taking the call, Billy Fields. And yeah, as there is a hot and upcoming dramatic critic named Sandy Cozen who gave my play some very kind words, and I would like to um, include my email address in the chat. And if anyone wants to see the video footage of the closing night of Last Case of Dr. Watson that we produced in downtown LA in November, just send me an email and I hope you like it. And according to Sandy, it's worth your time. So that's, I'll let Sandy do all, yes, I'll let Sandy do all of my PR. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It's
That's
definitely worth your time. Very, very, very fun to watch.
Well, I can assure you, if Sandy says it's so, it's so.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank
Now, the Nashville folks will remember Harold L. Shire.
Oh, yes.
Because when Harold says it's so, it's so. He was a jeweler.
If you don't know diamonds, know your jeweler. And if Harold says it's so,
It's so. Okay. Janice, any comments, thoughts from Knoxville?
I've got it.
No, this is also my first time visiting with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing about my favorite story of the canon too.
Oh, will David Hayes love you? He will love you.
One of the first
Because
ones
he
I read. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
it's one of the first ones I read as a kid, so
Uh,
it just spoke to me
that's
somehow.
real-
Janice is kind of fun. Jim Hawkins just asked a question. You're showing up, it's saying Janice Monograph Knoxville.
Yeah.
So we're assuming that your last name's Monograph, right?
No, that's my nom in Hounds of the Internet.
Okay.
We're just picking because that's the way I am. I can't help myself.
I had a
Well,
question
we're glad
yesterday.
y'all are here with us. We're gonna have a tremendous meeting today, and I'm not gonna keep talking, even though I like to hear myself talk.
Peter Blau is registered for Malice Domestic, so I will see
Oh,
him
really?
there,
Oh,
so Yeah. just to let you know.
What is close to him, right? Where is it?
The Maryland.
Yeah, he lives in
Yeah.
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we are very fortunate to have a man of high esteem and
Kind of makes me
knowledge.
nervous.
I thought it was David's day. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
He also hates when I do that, so I'm not really gonna do it. I just started that way. What I will say is, if there's anyone who is interested in the Musgrave ritual, you would do well to talk with David. He certainly has enjoyed gathering the knowledge that he has, and imparting the knowledge that he has. So David, I'm going to shut up and let you speak. David Hayes, would you come and present?
Well, I'll give my best shot. I've intimidated myself, and that's not easy. We're going to use a combination of slides and spoken word this morning. And I appreciate you allowing me to do this. I hope everybody had a chance to take a look at the letter I sent out. I want to begin by saying that of the things that I will say today, the fact that I received this letter is the only non-factual thing. It is either factual from published history or factual from the canon, which, as we all know, is the same. So I'll set that aside. And we will, when we get forward. England, like a lot of places, has wonderful ancient history. That's not the subject of today's time together. Perhaps a future time, we can take a look at the myths and how they have permeated throughout history, including the canon. We can, though, I believe, show reverence for that by starting my presentation by reading the first verse to you of the famous poem by William Blake. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountain green, and was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills, and was Jerusalem builded here among those dark satanic mills? Let me give you the framework for the letter. If someone has a dispute or a claim against a member of the landed gentry related to land ownership, tenancy agreements, or property rights, they can file a suit in civil courts. The land registry in England and Wales maintains records of land ownership, boundaries, and property transactions. If there are allegations of improper land ownership or fraudulent transactions involving the landed gentry, the land registry may investigate and rectify any discrepancies. We will focus on the property of Musgrave Manor and the request noted in the letter that the records as they exist in the land registry are correct. Parliament, as explained in the letter, is considering legislation and wants to make sure the properties owned by landed gentry or controlled by others on behalf of landed gentry are correct. So it's much broader than just today's topic. Local authorities and planning departments oversee land use and development. And there are also heritage and conservation bodies at the local level who have a right to express their opinions on all matters. It'd be one heck of an HOA, wouldn't it? In particular, they can accuse landed gentry of neglect or inappropriate alteration of historical properties owned by the gentry and file suit. Remember, landed gentry, while distinct from British peerage, held and still holds significant power. England has always been a large number of provinces. Now, somebody asked me about this, and they said, "What is this?" And I said, "It's a pool cue."
Oh, wow. It is.
It's also a good pointing stick, isn't it?
Yeah.
They can keep us in line too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Since I don't have a podium
Planning lawyer?
to do this,
Sorry.
don't have a podium to do this, we'll show right here. For today's purposes, we're going to begin down in this area, begin and end down in this area here at Sussex, East Sussex and West Sussex. That is important to our presentation today. And we're going to leap ahead in our study to King Alfred the Great of Wessex. And pick up our English history during his period of 849 to 899. I'm like you, Drew, I have to keep putting my glasses on when I want to read and take them back off. Well, let me tell you something about King.
871 to 899.
King Alfred the Great is the only king of England that's ever had the term the Great attached to his name. Ever. Really? Before or since. Now, there's a lot to talk about on this king, but for purposes today, we're going to hit the high points. And the main thing I wanted to call attention to is his crown. It was very ornate, but regrettably, it does not survive. After the execution of King Charles I, it was destroyed under the orders of Oliver Cromwell. Being very ornate, he wouldn't have worn it in public anyway. You imagine riding a horse with that thing on your head? So, there was a second crown, the St. Edward's crown. They are not the same person, of course, two different people is named after. But the crown, both crowns were worn by him. It is described in the inventory of Charles I's possessions as made of gold wire set with slight stones and two little bells. There are two critically important things I need to point out. Although the St. Edward's crown was inventoried as a king property, it was not accounted for at his death. And number two, the box which held the King Alfred crown is still sitting in Westminster. Empty. Except for the following inscription in Latin, translated says, "This is the chief crown of the two, with which crowned Kings Alfred, Edward, and others." So, I asked the obvious. I wonder what happened to the other less ornate crown. I bet it became, quote, battered and shapeless. Excuse me. Now let's plow ahead. And we'll leave the descendants of Alfred the Great and travel long for a ways, although he was the first person that had a king, King Edward the Elder, Alfred's son, continued to unify provinces, conquered the eastern Danish law. He had King Edward the Martyr's pretty long list that run us up to King Harold II, Alfred's grandson, is remembered for his leadership during the Battle of Hastings in 1066. It's generally the same area. When William the Conqueror attacked England, he did not come along. One of the nobles that came with him is Sir William de la Haye. Yeah, I know you've already said there's a real resemblance between that man and David. Well, he is my 26th great grandfather.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. So anyway, and he did come over with him, with his army, which was sizable at the time. The castle that you see there is still standing in Normandy now. Can tour it, and if you're a student of D-Day, which is another Normandy type thing, right? After the original invasion, landings happened, and everybody reconnoitered. The first big battle was held July 12th, where the German army had dug in position to oppose the incoming people, and that happened at that property. So, and it, like I say, it's still around, so my people take good care of their stuff.
It's inhabited?
Huh?
It's inhabited, it's not a museum, this castle.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
You can book a room actually for the night.
Wow.
Okay, so, um. An interesting thing about, he went back home after Hastings, but he left family, behind. And, just tell you that from this area, you know, initially William built the vessel, you've probably seen pictures of it, it's still there. And, Normandy, not my guy. And people settled, right around it for obvious reasons. But as things became more stable, people moved out. So I'm gonna give you a quick 2 second or maybe 2 minute lesson on the family because I got a reason to do that. So from my group, the first group ended up moving all the way up here to what's called East Riding in York. Now, East Riding in York appears in a canon, as Tom mentioned a couple meetings ago. One of the characters in the Priory School story is an innkeeper named Hayes. And it makes sense to have that because my family. It also gives me a chance to say that over time, the De La Hayes name became Hayes. In England, spelled Hayes. However, my family broke off from that group and went on into Scotland. And that group became Clan Hay, and that's my lineage comes from that. I know you want me to stop and tell you all about myself. So look, you have to invite me back. I was gonna say, and have drinks. I'm drinking water today. But there was another group that came from there over to East Sussex, West Sussex, in that area. And interestingly enough, in the published family history for that group of people is referred to as a cadet group. We heard that cadet branch, didn't we? In the Musgrave ritual story. Now, they also went over here to Dartmoor, which is why in the letter, the attorney decided to be thorough and say, you got any connection? Yeah, but you'll have to invite me back to hear it out. They also went on up here to Cheshire. And in 1611, some of the people that were living in Cheshire, boarded a boat and sailed over to the Virginia colony and stayed there. And the reason, though, I'm wanting to mention that is because where they landed in that area of Virginia is called, or was called, the Isle of Wight. Interestingly enough, named after that area of England, which is where Charles I was captured before he was beheaded. Loops back around the story. Yeah, storytelling. Okay. Well, why would the government be involved in this? Remember how I laid out the levels of government with authority to get involved? Well, why would any of them get involved? Well, let's look at the inheritance laws. And this is so much fun reading all this law stuff, which were in existence during Victorian times, but still are today. A person could leave his wealth to anyone or anything he or she chose. In fact, there had been no compulsion to pass wealth to children or even to spouses. In 1850, only around 15% of the adults who died left enough to make inheritance worth caring about. By the mid-1930s, this had increased to only 23%. When I used to teach financial planning to people, I used to say, if you don't have a will, the state of Tennessee has one for you, and you ain't gonna like it. Okay. It was a practice to leave most of the wealth within a family. The social term for this is welfare, spelled F-A-R-E. Steps are taken to keep the wealth within the family to benefit future generations. Well, what does this matter? Well, you remember that Sir Ralph Musgrave was a supporter of King Charles I, who apparently wanted to protect his property from seizure by the government should something go wrong. To do so and to protect it from family spendthrifts, he created a trust. Okay, an entity which keeps everything intact for future generations. We use those today constantly. If a person dies, unmarried with no children, the law says property will pass to the crown. So you better take steps. That's why when you watch, I'm serious, if you watch a BBC TV show, you often see a home for unwed mothers or something else, and it's this mansion looking thing. Well, the person didn't want the government to get his property, so they created a charitable trust and gifted it to this thing and said, as long as it's used for that purpose, then it will stay in existence. These are still done today. Okay, so that's important. So here's the bottom line. Is the trust Sir Ralph Musgrave created permitted to remain in perpetuum? We know that Sir Reginald Musgrave was not married and had no children. Sir Reginald tells Sherlock Holmes this. So he must have understood that it was important and what his situation truly was. Now we know what it truly is. Or do. Well, there's no Musgrave ritual. And I say down to the last two lines, what shall we give for it? All that is ours. Why should we give it? For the sake of the trust. I conclude and summarize by giving you the second verse of the William Blake. Bring me my bow of burning gold, bring me my arrows of desire, bring me my spear, O clouds unfold, bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this.
Well, David, you're probably not gonna get off that easy, because I'm sure there are questions, but let's see.
Those of you I gave the questions to, please read them.
Folks, response, comments, thoughts? For me, the one thing that really struck me, no, wait a minute. Before I get struck, Dean, you were gonna say something.
I was not clear on whether this letter was attached that we read was legit or not.
No, the letter would have been legit if the people existed. However, the job that I said the attorney had, that's why I began that way.
Okay. So he's a real person.
No.
No?
No, I looked up, I went online and found out the most common first name and the most common last name of attorneys practicing in that court, and made him up from that.
Okay.
The address is real.
Well,
And I put my professional initials after my name so I can deduct this meal from my pink and that. Hey, don't tell, please.
It struck me after I read it a couple of times. I told David as I was keeping him from eating his lunch when we started, I read the first time, I said, man, this is really something. I thought, let me read this again. I read the second time, I said, no, wait a minute. And then now after we talk, it is very much like a historic novel where lots of facts pushed together in a way so he could tell his story that he presented to us today. I think, is that a fair way to describe what you did?
Pretty much, yeah. Better not have done.
So the whole idea that when I look back, I watched the movie. I watched the Jeremy Brett this week, which is not exactly like the story, but I stood amazed because I was very challenged with math. So the whole idea of the measurements in the tree and the shadow and the this and the that and the cross were really wore me out. And if I just stop, don't even try to figure it out. Because if you put a non, give me the words, I probably can understand it. Give me the numbers and it makes me nuts. Which I read in my algebra teacher, just a side note from high school, had her in algebra 1 and well, I had it in algebra 2 because I was dumb enough after algebra 1 to try algebra 2. And she reminded me of what a good student I was. I said, man, I just got out by the skin of my teeth with a D. And she says, oh no, Billy, you're mistaken. And I'm going, well, you wrote wrong letters down on my card. But and again, as I was thinking, I thought, it's still, I did the elm and the oak, and I thought how interesting it was to put together such a story to lead us to the crown that we know existed.
Yeah.
And what happened to it. And when you're playing the game, this is as good of explanation as any.
What's that called? Playing the game? You scholars call it.
Yeah.
Playing the game.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna. I remember one.
The great game. It's often referred to as the great game.
Mm-hmm. I remember well, David Bradley, rest him still from our group, the day he discovered what the game was. And he came into one of our breakfast meetings. I'm playing the game, and I thought, David, are you okay, buddy? And then I realized what he was talking about, and I just assumed he had been playing the game with us for a lot of years, and he was, but he wasn't. So you certainly helped us play the game and keep the memory alive.
Thank you for letting me do it.
Any thoughts in your preparations? Or any thoughts of the Musgrave ritual? It was the story itself was not assigned to read and study today, but any thoughts before we? Because we're really early today.
Way out connection. If you ever go to the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, Vermont, their offices, there's a museum, but the offices are in the house that's on the property, which was given by the Musgrave family. And I've always wondered, what's the connection there,
Yeah.
And it's a famous family in Vermont, and maybe it goes back to, the Musgrave too. So.
Sandy has a comment.
Sandy?
Yeah,
About the tree.
there's just one problem that I've always had with this story, which is a flaw. Trees grow, and different trees grow at different rates. After so many years, can you really count footsteps of shadow to get to the right place? Because those trees are not anywhere near where they were originally.
Right. It's like an opera, Sandy. You have to, there's a thing called the suspension of belief. You have to just accept what the rules are.
I
And go
And-
with it.
also
And
read
for
somewhere.
years, I suspended it until it suddenly occurred to me, because a tree had fallen in my backyard in the latest storm,
They
that
also do like ritual
trees
letters in the
grow. And they grow over years, but they grow at uneven rates.
Yeah.
Somebody else had the same question there.
Janice, I know you have some thoughts.
Well, I agree with Sandy. That's stretching it a little bit. My only assumption is that they weren't expected to wait centuries to solve the problem. And between the time that Charles I was executed and Charles II came back, the tree that would have been a reasonable thing to do. Although, if you ask my husband, who took surveying a million years ago, you need something that's going to be there and the same size forever to do a good job in surveying. So I can only assume that the expectation was that Charles II would be back in a reasonable amount of time. However, to believe that it was going to work for Holmes, you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. And I don't think it was trigonometry they used. I think it was just basic arithmetic, or to decide how tall the tree was going to be. But that's a petty point that somebody who studied mathematics might complain about, so I'm not going to do that. But I think it's a stretch to believe it would work for home, but it's still a great story. I love the fact that I liked going through all of the procedure and and finding the peg or the hole where the peg from Breton was and all of that stuff. I really like that part, which is what attracted me way back when I was studying how to do these kinds of calculations. It was actually useful. Oh gosh, something we can use in school.
That makes it fun for sure. Anyone else online, Kat or Jay, anybody? Any thoughts?
No, I love the story but there is a flaw, and I think we have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Very
Sandy.
unique.
Oh, wait a minute, Kat was gonna say.
I'm sorry. Kat?
Oh,
Yeah, well, you
a very unique approach. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other thoughts? Yes. Couple here.
I think T.S. Eliot was the one who wrote Murder at the Cathedral.
Yeah.
And that had some lines in it that were remarkably like the Musgrave Ritual.
Intentionally so.
And scholars were thinking that there was a common source that Doyle had and Eliot had, but thinking surely Eliot wouldn't read Doyle. But finally, fortunately, since he was still alive, they interviewed him. And where'd you get this from? And Eliot said, "Oh, that's Doyle. It's the Musgrave Ritual."
That's great. Tom, you got a thought?
Just that as the story begins, interesting description of how unkempt Sherlock Holmes keeps his apartment. And quite a bit of detail there. And I've got the story printed out. I'm gonna leave it here if anybody wants it. It's
Okay.
about 10 pages.
All right.
This is a bachelor, right?
Another thing I read about that was that initially Doyle did not indicate what time of year. He realized that would make a difference on how high the sun was, where it was positioned in the sky. And so he put down June 6th, the date. So at least that would be a specific place and time.
Y'all taking a nice little story.
Yeah.
That we're just gonna be happy little days where we find the crown, and now it's complicated by the time of the year. Does the tree grow? And now I'm all confused. Here I am, a simple Sherlockian trying to get by in the world. Dave.
Well, one thing that helped me with my thinking get started, that was in the movie, not in the book, was that the knight rode up to the shore and threw the crown over to Musgrave for safekeeping. Remember? Now, obviously, that's made up, but it launched in my own mind that this is not arbitrary. This must be planned, and so I fell in love with the whole idea of it. And I like things that keep going on. They're sort of eternal. So,
And being a royalist, for me, when I started thinking about the whole thing and Cromwell and all the mess that the fool created back then, not following the proper manners and proper redress that was available to him under Parliament as it was. But anyway, the whole idea that the king was seized and the king was beheaded, and it took several years to put him back in, and now of course we've got Charles III, which makes it all right. So we'll continue to be appreciative of the king, who allows us to continue to participate in Sherlock Holmes conversations across over here. Other thoughts?
I had a dear friend in Denver. His name was Ron Louise. He was died in the wool Sherlockian. And his scion up there was Dr. Watson's neglected patients, which I thought was really clever. They still meet up there. We met online in Welcome Homes, which is our discussion group. And turned out that he and I had both been going to John Bennett Shaw's house, but we never met there. And so he always tested my true credentials to be a Sherlockian. Because every time he saw me, he'd say, "Whose was it?" And I'd say, "I don't know."
The proper response.
You gotta get the Musgrave Ritual down. I said, "And who shall have it?" I got a clue, like we went through all that every day.
okay.
So wonderful.
Yeah,
Dear friends that we do, you know.
it was great, David, thank you.
And we'll close that one. David, thank you. Now, next month, early preview next month, Jeff Stewart. Yes. Is going to be here. And what are you gonna be talking about, Jeff?
We'll be talking about the actors who played Watson. We spent a lot of time on the actors that played Sherlock. So we'll take just a little bit of time and talk about some of the ones that played Watson.
So be prepared to reflect on your favorite Watson. We all probably have one.
Gail's take us out with chapter 1B.
Sandy, do you have something for us today?
Do I have a limerick? I do, right here.
Oh, let's have it.
Now?
Yep.
Now, okay. Brunton's smarter by far than his master. He decoded the ritual faster. But what if you know how to go down below, if your plans end in total disaster? The end.
Thank you very much. And in our special way, we remember folks, we try to remember folks that have been with us and we miss. Gail Stahl has been gone for a while, but his spirit remains with us. We have his words. We're going to close with his oration of a very famous poem. So folks, we will tell you now, thank you for being with us. We will gather again next month. I assume Jeff will be using the same email or the same link. The date is April the
18th, I think.
April the 18th, be the third Saturday. We'll about 11:30 be online. So if you're not on our email list, please let me know and I'll do my best to put it on. Those here know I'm challenged with emails here lately, but we will do our best to make sure you get noticed. So with that, Jim, would you bring Gail to us?
Here we go. B, Vincent Third, BSI. Here dwell together still two men of note who never lived and so never died. How very near they seem, yet how remote. That age before the world went awry. Those with ears attuned to catch the distant view halloo. England is England yet for all her fears. Only those things the heart believe are true. A yellow fog settles past the window pane as night descends upon this fabled street. A lonely hansom splashes through the rain. The ghostly gas lamps fall at 20 feet. Here, though the world explodes, these two survive. And it's always 1895.
Thank you all, and we'll see you next month, and we'll see you all next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy and Jeff. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for making it possible for us to come too.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.